A viewer of this channel reached out to me and asked quite an interesting question, so I thought I'd address it in a video. That question was, why do I have such a problem with liberalism? He said he could understand with regards to modern day liberalism, but if you look at liberalism and its core tenets, things like promotion of private property, freedom of speech, equality under the law, what's wrong with that? Of course I'd agree that these things are good, yet my problem with liberalism, both the modern woke iteration and the previous classical liberal iteration, is that these are movements that can't stand alone by themselves. What I mean is, we've forgotten the very foundations that made liberalism possible in the first place, and because we're blinded to these foundations, we simply try and repeat the tenets of liberalism again and again and try and recreate the success of the West historically. You see this a lot with the modern Tory party. They seem to believe if you just have a meritocracy and you treat everybody equally under the law and people work hard, eventually everybody will be round about at the same level. I've always seen Nigel Farage in this mould as well. Essentially, he's a classical liberal. He wants to be left alone by the state. He's pro-liberty, pro-free market. Not really sure why he gets described as a fascist. I mean, he has a little dollop of civic nationalism, but that's about it. I imagine the mainstream liberals hate him though because he's quite charismatic, he's popular and he dares criticise mass immigration and the religion of peace. But when you actually hear his views, it's pretty much bog standard classical liberalism.
I was asked the other day, what was I going to do for the black community? Do you know what I said? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I couldn't give a damn whether you're black or white, whether you're gay or straight. I really don't care. You'll be judged by your character. You'll be judged by your ability. You'll be judged by, are you a contributor to society or a taker out?
And again, it's all very nice sounding, but really that's just the post-MLK consensus that's been replete across the Western liberal states. However, because the liberal idea is rooted in the Lockean idea of the blank slate, you're only ever one step behind modern wokeism. If you take this line, it means in the modern multicultural state, the only way to explain inequality is by the oppressive forces of the society at large or the economic system. That means it's going to get very tempting to blame things on a lack of inclusion and oppression and racism and so forth. This is why Zia Youssef, the chairman of the supposedly far-right and anti-woke reform, advocated recently for a more quote-unquote inclusive approach to politics that engages all communities. Great thinking, Zia. It's not like the Tory party and Labour haven't been doing that for the last 20 to 30 years. And this question of inclusion begs the question, include who? For instance, Birmingham City Council have found that just 1 in 10 Somalis in the UK are in full-time employment. And as the MP Nick Timothy rightly raised in Parliament recently, why is it that 72% of Somalis live in social housing compared to 16% of the population overall? Now, it seems quite obvious to me that we're essentially just babysitting the Somalis. I'm not really sure what they're doing here or what they're offering. Now, I'm sure a woke liberal would tell me that they're enriching the UK in some way or another, that they're propping up our NHS and that it's our fault for how they struggle because of the plight of Africa. But even a classical liberal couldn't go that much further. They'd probably say something like it's part of their culture and they have to be shown how to work harder and given more opportunities or something. But we're ignoring the elephant in the room, which is liberalism can only truly work if it's backed up by a strong, vibrant tradition and a strong sense of nation, ideally a homogenous one, but at least a region which is largely homogenous. Such a nation creates a high-trust society because you can largely understand people as you come from the same meta-narrative and can predict how people act. The tradition, on the flip side, acts as the moral arbiter that ensures everybody is singing from the same hymn sheet. After all, what is liberalism about fundamentally? It's about individual freedom. However, if all we pursue is individual freedom and forget the needs of the collective as well as the transcendent aims in life, it suddenly becomes chaotic and messy and starts to eat itself alive from the inside out. As Aristotle said many years ago, through discipline comes freedom. I think this is true on both the personal and the political levels. This is something Western man seems to have forgotten a long time ago. Freedom isn't an end in itself. If we pursue that alone, things become nihilistic, solipsistic and messy. However, if we order it correctly, with correct duty towards our brothers and service towards the divine, freedom is a beautiful byproduct. I think we had something amounting to that at one time in the Western world, and I think we can have that again one day. These are just my thoughts, however. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.